This is Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details. Here are your hosts, Joe, Matt, and Chris.
Jalon Walker is the best linebacker in the 2025 NFL Draft and maybe the best defensive player, period, in the 2025 NFL Draft, Chris. And I am going to tell you why. Listen, we're continuing our position-by-position breakdown series here at the 2025 NFL Draft. We are continuing it with linebackers. And I say linebackers, and the question with Jalon Walker is he really even a linebacker? There are a bunch of the different, obviously, scouting services as far as the trusted services we trust to detail draft prospects for us, have him listed differently. PFF says he's a linebacker. ESPN has him as an edge. NFL Draft Buzz says he's a linebacker, then says his play style is an edge outside linebacker. So he's polarizing as far as what position he's going to even play in the NFL. Then he's polarizing as far as draft position in the NFL goes as well. There was back-to-back tweets I was looking up when I was doing my research on Jalon Walker. I just looked his name up on Twitter, and there was back-to-back tweets on my feed. The first one said, quote, "I don't understand the hype around Jalon Walker." Immediately the next tweet after that tweet said, "Genuinely, I don't understand people not loving Jalon Walker." So again, that's polarizing all the way around as far as how people feel about Jalon Walker. And ESPN, and again, I go into these draft services, how they feel about him. ESPN has him as the 6th overall prospect. Only Abdul Carter is a better edge as far as ESPN goes. That's what they say. NFL Draft Buzz says he's the 23rd overall prospect. They say he's the best linebacker in the class. And then PFF has him as the 29th overall prospect and the second best linebacker in the class behind Jihad Campbell of Alabama. So again, it's all over the place with Jalon Walker as far as how people see him, where he's going to be in the draft, what position they see him playing. He is a complete enigma as far as this draft is concerned. And again, his size at 6'1", 243 probably tells you he should be a linebacker, but the tape says he's a damn good outside linebacker. He could be a really, really good outside linebacker. He flies around to the ball, speed, strength. He's got great play recognition as well. He's got a high IQ, high football IQ, high motor as well. He's great in zone coverage as well. He's really good at identifying route concepts and seeing zone coverage as well. And he can make a great quarterback spy, especially with how athletic the quarterbacks are in today's NFL. He could spy Lamar Jackson. He could spy Josh Allen. Those are guys who need spies, and Jalon Walker could potentially be a great one of those in the NFL. And the thing I like about him most, and the thing that most NFL teams like about him the most, is his leadership. Anyone who you ask about the Georgia Bulldogs in-house the last 2 seasons will say that Jalon Walker was the alpha, the heartbeat, and a natural-born leader, and he is an absolute culture setter for the Georgia Bulldogs. So again, that's something that any NFL team would want, especially his level of talent. You want it, but again, his intangibles are off the chart. That's good no matter what position he's playing, especially as a true linebacker. That would be really, really good because linebackers are kind of seen as the leaders of the defense, if you will. So again, Jalon Walker, not only a super talented player, but he's an extremely, extremely good leader, and that's something that all NFL organizations want in their organization. However, I was just talking about him as a linebacker. Again, I might be cheating here on the linebackers episode, but his best position might be edge. Like, he led Georgia in sacks the last 2 years, and for not having a massive frame, he was great because he's obviously has an extreme amount of explosiveness that we saw in his 40-yard dash. A 4.5 flat 40 is an elite time for an edge rusher or for a linebacker. That's elite for both. And again, this combination of bend on the edge, explosiveness, and uncommon power for his size. He's got an uncommon amount of power for his size at 6'1", 243 is elite traits that can make him a big-time edge player as well. And again, the production was there, especially in big games. In his 2 games against Texas last year, which was obviously one of the best teams in the country in the SEC, and we're in the college football playoff, he went against 2 NFL draft prospect tackles, and one is going to be a first-round pick left tackle this year in Kelvin Banks, and one's going to be probably a day 2 right tackle and Cameron Williams for the University of Texas. Here's his numbers in his first game, Chris. 8 tackles, 7 pressures, 6 run stops, 3 sacks, and a fumble recovery. That's what he did against Kelvin Banks and Cameron Williams in his first game. And his second game was something light, only 3 tackles and a sack. He just had 3 tackles and a sack in his second game after having 7 pressures, 8 tackles, and 3 sacks in his first game. So he absolutely decimated on the edge against 2 NFL caliber tackles, high-level draft prospect NFL caliber tackles in Kelvin Banks and Cameron Williams. So again, Jalon Walker as a pass rusher might be really, really dangerous. Now, his weaknesses, is he a tweener? Now, tweener is kind of like Micah Parsons, where Micah Parsons was playing linebacker and then playing off the edge as well? Or is tweener like Isaiah Simmons, where you can't find a position for him and nobody can really find the right scheme for him? So is he one of those guys? It depends on, where he falls, which one of those guys he could end up being. But again, that's a concern. Is he a tweener? What position is he going to play? Again, limited experience as well. Only 11 starts in college. He also has some weaknesses in man coverage as well right now. He's a little bit stiff in his hips, in his fluidity. And then he's hesitant in the run game at times, and his instincts need to develop. But with more experience, like I mentioned, he's not as experienced. With more experience comes better instincts as well. So I feel like those will get better as far as that goes. So my overall takeaway from Jalon Walker can be Micah Parsons. He can be Abdul Carter. He has that amount of talent and ability. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can do it all, and he is an elite athlete and can be great on the edge and an outside linebacker. He's just a little bit shorter than those two guys that I mentioned. He's 6'1". Those guys are 6'3", but he can be that caliber of player. I don't know if he will be, but he certainly has the ability to be that level of player that Micah Parsons and that Abdul Carter can be. He has that level of talent. His best fits for me, to me, he's not getting out of the top 10. He is not getting out of the top 10 of this draft. Some team is going to pick him in the top 10 based on what everybody is saying. And again, I don't know about you, Chris, but I saw this quote on Instagram the other day, and it said, he's got a lot of fans at One Patriot Place. So there's a lot of Patriots organization people who are big fans of Jalon Walker. So again, Pat's at 4 is probably the soonest he could go. I don't know if the Pats decide to do that. I don't know as a Pats fan if I would be okay with that. I kind of want us to go either one of the best, either Carter or Hunter at 4, or then, potentially offense, either trade down and draft a lineman or trade down and draft a receiver, one or the other. But again, we get Jalon Walker. If he is what everybody says he is as far as culture and as far as talent, that's a damn good player to add to a defense that already added a lot of talent in this offseason. And then as well, the Bears at 10, I think, is the absolute latest he'd go. If he slides to the Bears at 10, the Bears are going to pick him at 10. There's no doubt about it. But to me, the Panthers at 8 is his best fit. Whether they got him as an edge rusher, whether they got him as an outside linebacker, Panthers need a lot of help on defense. They were literally the worst defense of all time last year. So I think he would be a great fit for the Carolina Panthers. So either way, Jalon Walker is going to be one of the best defensive players in this draft. He has Micah Parsons level upside, and I'm excited to see what he can do in the NFL as a linebacker or potentially as an edge this year. And again, I was cheating. We're supposed to be talking about linebackers, and he might be an edge. But again, Jalon Walker has to be mentioned as far as one of the best players in this NFL draft. But Chris, I'm going to kick it to you. First of all, what do you think about all that Jalon Walker talk? And second of all, who do you got for your linebacker in this NFL draft? Which name do you have to watch?
Oh man, yeah. So I'm glad that you brought him up, because quite honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you. I haven't, up to this point, I had not heard a ton about him until recently. Like, everybody does a million different mock drafts, so you see so many different iota of things that are going on, but he is not one that I ever saw come up in like the top 10 at any point. He was normally like 17 and down, right? It's normally where I saw him in all the mock drafts I've seen, all of them I'm done. That's kind of where I've seen him as of late, which, I mean, there have been some, some things I've watched on YouTube where, analysts like to put out, well, I'm not just saying this for the hell of saying it. I'm saying it because I'm hearing it. Like, okay, I'll take that with a grain of salt. But at the same time, there are, as you said, specifically with the Patriots, there apparently has been some rumors or talks with some interest within the Patriots. So there are people who do feel now more than ever that he very well may be at that number 4 spot if they can't seem to trade out, or they can't get the two Bluetooth players that you want. That's apparently who they might be looking at, which I agree with you. I personally think, because of what so much they've done, not even go into a whole Patriots talk, but because of how much they've done in the offseason, I personally, unless it's Abdul Carter, I don't see them going defense. I do think they'll take best player available, but I do think it's going to be on the offensive side because they've done so much the defense during the offseason. So I think their number one goal really should be offensive line. I don't think anybody can attest to that. It has to be, unless you're getting a playmaker like a Tyler Warren or a Ted McMillan, who I'm starting to kind of grow down on. Like, I don't know if that's the guy I would take, especially not at 4. But I either way, they need a left tackle, and they need some type of help as far as letting Drake May have a player that can actually catch the ball. They brought in Stephon Diggs, but they definitely need more. But as far as like the take, man, I don't think anybody really could have said it any better. Geez, yeah, that's great. If you can get a Micah Parsons, whew, my goodness, yeah, you're setting yourself up for a long time. Especially the Panthers. Man, the Panthers need them like last year. They need them like
needed
something
it bad
serious.
last year. Yeah, they could have used the
Yeah,
Georgia version of him last year on their defense. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, their defense was absolutely horrendous. Oh man, yeah. So the guy that I was looking at is Demetrius Knight Jr. Out of South Carolina. But first, I did want to start this particular session off with saying congratulations to the women's South Carolina Gamecocks basketball team, who I am a huge fan of, and Don Staley, who I'm also a huge fan of. And yeah, they had a hell of a season. They had a hell of a run. They unfortunately
dominant
lost,
per
but it was
usual.
yeah, man, the team that they fought was just ridiculous. There's no way around that one. But I do want to give them their crowns, their glory. They absolutely deserve it. They may have not won the chip, but I think they won in the best ways. And I think Don Staley has definitely put her stamp on everything that has to do with them. So definitely want to wish them some congratulations on what they achieved this season for sure. But moving on, back to basketball football talk. So talking about Demetrius Knight Jr., right? He's another one that I hear about him here and there, but not very much. Again, I've heard a lot of like the top 5-6 players. A lot of things I feel as of recently have really been related to offense. I've seen a lot of O-line talk, a lot of it. And not just from the Patriots side. I've seen it kind of from a million different people following, 32 different teams. A lot of offensive line talk, a lot of it has got to do with a particular offensive lineman. That seems to be most of it, which you got into on our last video. But that's been a lot of it. So I haven't seen much of Demetrius Knight Jr. So I thought this might be a good point to kind of point him out, because believe it or not, out of the linebackers, he's actually listed as the third best linebacker in this class, via PFF anyway. He's 53 ranked overall, but they have him listed as the third best. So he's 6'2", he's 235 pounds, which yes, I think he's a little undersized for his particular role. But I do definitely think he makes up for it in speed. So in 2024, he had 82 tackles, 8 tackles for a loss, 2 sacks, and he had an interception. So he was 2023 first team All-American Athletic Conference with the Charlotte before transferring for his final season with the Gamecocks. This dude is fast as hell, man. Dude is fast as hell. So in the combine, he ran a 4.58 at the combine, which I believe made him within like the top 5 to 8 out of the linebacker team, which was 83 percentile. Just this dude is just ridiculously fast. So while yes, he is kind of average in like the other areas, and he isn't the biggest dude in the world, he definitely makes up for it for his speed. And according to, I've already said, like according to PFF, he's listed as the third best linebacker. My biggest thing is that the dude is just a nasty tackler, man. Like if you go and watch some of his tape, like it's glaring. There's really no other way to put that. He is an absolute dog. He is the type of dog that you see on the streets when you're taking a jog and you immediately stop and reroute your entire direction to avoid having any type of conversation with that person or that dog at all. You don't want anything to do with them. This is the type of guy that you're looking at. He's that nasty of a player. And I didn't get to watch a ton of his tape, but the tape that I did get to watch, I was quite impressed, to be honest. You can basically watch his tape for hours. And, I don't think linebackers in particular get enough love by, in my opinion anyway. I think we see a lot of like the defensive interiors or the edge rushers or on the offensive line. You don't see a lot of linebackers getting a lot of love, to be quite honestly. And I think they are underappreciated. You can do anything with them though, man. Like you can put them in coverage. You can play them in run defense, which, by the way, according to PFF, and this is the percentiles that are among linebackers with at least 300 snaps, his run defense grade was at 85.4 percentile of that team. You can let him moonlight, pass rushing. You can play him anywhere, and he will perform. Period. He's just a really solid guy to have on your defense. And again, like we just talked about, like everybody is kind of digging into like the trenches type of area as far as the draft goes. This is the perfect place to do it, especially on the defensive side because of how heavy it is. But I think he is going to make specifically. You might even look at the Eagles and say they could use him like yesterday, especially with all of the talent that they just lost. I think he might be a premier spot for him to go because they're definitely going to know how to use him and use him well. But there are a few indicators that are not, I'm not going to say glaring, but there's only really two concerns that really come up. One of them is going to be a little bigger than the other. The first one is that he can be known to be a little over aggressive. So with being over aggressive, what you get is that it leads to potentially being kind of duped and kind of giving up big yards because of being duped, or you potentially just miss tackles essentially, which he is a really good tackler by all means. He is a really good tackler. But when you get too aggressive and you try to move too quickly, especially in the NFL, it goes in three ways, in my opinion. Either you get duped and you give up a big game, you get a penalty in some way, shape, or form because you got overly aggressive, and we know how that's running now in the NFL and how those are headed. Okay, I'm not going to get too deep into that one. Or you miss the tackle because you're being too aggressive, and because these offensive players are just they're extremely talented. A lot of them are very well built. So it's not going to be as easy to tackle them as it may be in the college realm. And I think that is definitely something that a lot of players really going into the NFL are going to have to learn, specifically on the defensive side, that just like grabbing a man by your hands is not going to be enough to get them down. Like you're going to have to wrap them up and essentially slam them without getting a penalty, slam them to the ground, because it's not going to be that easy as it is in college to just, I just, grab him by his chest and just drop him. It's not going to be that simple. So that's definitely one thing is he's going to have to learn. Yes, it's okay to be aggressive, but he's going to have to know the best time to do that and when he needs to find a different route in order to, to make whatever play he needs to make. The biggest con though, and I don't know if it's necessarily a con, but it can be a bit concerning, I think, to some teams, depending on how they view him, and that's his age. So he is, in fact, going to be probably the oldest player in the draft. And when he goes, remember, he's coming in as a rookie, and he's already going to be 25. I don't know off the top of my head exactly what his birthday is. So he's either going to be 25 or 26, one of the two, or going on 26, one of the two. So he's on the back end of 20. And so with that, you have to look at, there are players right now who are in the draft, or not in the draft, but who are in the NFL that are much younger than he is and have been in the NFL for a couple years. One in particular that falls on my mind, obviously because I'm a Patriots fan, is Christian Gonzalez. He's 22 and he's going into his third year. So you're going into your first at 25, and Christian Gonzalez is going into his third, almost considered a vet at this point, and he's only 22. Drake May is 21, 22. So you have a lot of these young players, and you're coming in kind of already on what most people would think is the back end of the 20s, which normally isn't great when it comes to getting, bigger rookie deals, outside of that realm. Like you get your rookie contract, and then normally the big one is the one right after that. But you're normally not at this age yet when you get the bigger contract. So I think that would be the concern. But either way, whoever decides to take a chance on Demetrius Knight, I think is not going to be disappointed. I think he can offer a lot to the right defense with the right coaching staff that knows how best to use him. And there's in my opinion, and obviously, like, I'm a Patriots fan, so everybody already knows this. So this shouldn't be a shock to be like, oh, okay, well, no wonder you didn't go to the Patriots, because I'm not going to choose them. I think he's going to be a good fit in either the Eagles or the Lions, because they're both known to have really good depth in their defense, and they're really good at figuring out where best to put them and to best utilize them. And I think they've done that phenomenally, especially in the last several years. So if anybody's going to pick him up and take a chance on him, I feel like, especially if he's going to go in the first round, I feel like that might be where he goes, and he might see him go in the second round. But either way, he's really going to be a good player, and I will be extremely interested to see where he ends up.
Yeah, I'm interested in that too, Chris. And you made a lot of really good points while you were talking. One of the ones that I picked up on was you talked about how undervalued linebackers are and how a good linebacker core is like really, really important. You look at most of the Super Bowl teams over basically the history of the NFL, like they've all got really solid linebackers. I mean, the Chiefs the last 2 years have had Nick Bolton in that linebacker core. We saw Zach Bond last year with the Eagles. You know, our Patriots teams with Dante Hightower or those type of guys in the linebacker core. You know, it's super.
Hightower was nasty.
Yeah, nasty, right? And again, even before that, like again, Patriots fans here. Sorry, Sammy's gonna watch this. He's gonna get really mad. But
he's gonna be like,
even when it was, even when it was Mike Vrabel and Brewski, your linebacker core is super important as far as you know, you guys being a championship level defense goes. You know, so again, having someone like that, and then again, obviously, you know, 25 is kind of old for an NFL rookie, but again, he also has that experience of being like, leading teams and having a lot of experience and seeing a lot of different situations going into the NFL. He probably won't be looked at as a rookie right away because he has so much experience, you know. So
that's
again,
that's a grown man.
That's a grown man for sure. Yeah, he's got a mortgage. He got kids. He got all that. I actually don't know that. I'm speculating there. He might not have any of that.
I believe he does. It's what maybe it might have been him. It might have been him that had like a wife and like 2 kids. I'm like, oh, he going here.
I wouldn't be shocked. Yeah, he got kids to feed. Maybe shout out to Demetrius Knight because again he's got a lot of potential, and like you mentioned, he can be a little over aggressive at times, but that aggressiveness, especially from a linebacker, I don't think you could be too aggressive. A linebacker is just an aggressive position naturally. So yeah, that's a really, really good pick. I like that a lot, Chris. And like we talked about, there's other good linebackers in this NFL draft that you could potentially get. We didn't hit on Jihad Campbell. He might be the best one in the NFL draft. You might see him get picked above all basically everybody but Jalon Walker as far as linebackers go. He was the heart and soul of that Alabama defense the last couple of years. Carson Schlesinger from UCLA is someone who really broke out last year. He wasn't really on any draft radars before last year. He had a really, really nice year, and UCLA people will tell you how good he was for them last year. Chris Paul Jr. out of Ole Miss as well is another name that people like. And again, someone that all of this teammates will tell you about. That's Ohio State linebacker Cody Simon. Cody Simon is someone who could go in anywhere from the 4th to 6th round. That team basically ran through Cody Simon as far as leadership goes. So he's someone that is going to get picked later on the draft that a lot of teams could like. But again, there's a lot of linebackers in this NFL draft class that you could find for your NFL team. And again, we talked about how devalued the linebacker position is for the NFL. Some of these guys are going to be really, really important for championship runs for years to come in this 2025 NFL draft.
This has been Between the Uprights. Football is life. The rest is just details.